Okay, so today,
We're diving into something that might make some people a little uncomfortable.
yeah,
We're talking about money.
everyone's favorite topic.
It is.
Before you hit that skip button,
Right.
this is going to be like a boring budgeting lecture.
Right.
We're actually going to be going deep on a YouTube video
Cool.
by this financial expert named Nischa Shah.
Mm-hmm.
And she has this 8-step payday routine that she talks about in this video called Do This Every Time You Get Paid, Accountant Payday Routine.
I love that.
And it's really like a breath of fresh air
Yeah.
in the world of personal finance.
And I think what's really interesting about Nisha is that she comes at this as an accountant and someone with experience in banking.
Okay.
So she brings that sort of like a more technical perspective, but also really understands the psychology of money.
Yeah, it feels very approachable.
Like you said, she understands that relationship with money can be emotional.
Yeah.
So step 1 in her routine is all about knowing your reference point.
Okay.
And I love this.
She calls out this thing called the Ostrich Effect,
Uh-huh.
which is basically that thing we all do where we kind of like bury our heads in the sand
Yeah.
when it comes to our finances.
It's so common.
Right.
It's so common, and I think it's a huge reason why so many people end up living paycheck to paycheck.
Well, like,
Because we avoid looking at our bank balances. We avoid looking at our credit card statements.
out of sight, out of mind
Exactly.
until it's not.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do we actually like pull our heads out of the sand and figure out where our money is going?
So Nisha recommends starting by calculating your essential expenses as a percentage of your net income.
Okay.
So when we say essential expenses, we're talking about things like your rent or your mortgage payment,
Your groceries.
groceries, utilities,
Okay.
that minimum debt payment,
So the things that you absolutely have to pay every month.
the things that you can't avoid.
Got it.
And so you would add all of those up,
Okay.
divide that number by your net income. So that's the amount of money that you actually take home after taxes. Multiply that number by 100, and that gives you your reference point.
Okay.
And ideally, you want that number to be below 60%.
Below 60%.
Yes.
She even has like a free template in her video description,
It does.
which I love.
To make it super easy.
Yeah, it's very actionable.
Mm.
But okay, let's say someone's listening to this and their essentials are way past that 60% mark.
Right.
Where do they even begin to like trim the fat?
Yeah, that's when you have to get a little bit creative.
Okay.
And think about things like maybe downgrading your phone plan.
Okay.
Could you explore carpooling options?
Yeah.
If you're feeling really ambitious, could you potentially rent out a spare room?
Ooh,
So
make a little side hustle.
exactly. So
Yeah.
it's about kind of getting creative with it and seeing
Joke like.
where you can make those adjustments.
Okay, so step 2 in her routine is what she calls the Quick Solution Fund.
Okay.
I love this name.
Tell me more.
It sounds like a superhero power,
Right?
like a financial superhero power.
It kind of is.
But tell me about it.
Yeah. So this is all about creating that financial safety net. Okay. Having that cushion for those unexpected expenses that come up in life.
Those curveballs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Nisha suggests having enough money in a separate account to cover 1 month of your essential expenses.
So if like your car breaks down or you have some unexpected medical bill, you're not like scrambling to come up with that cash
Exactly.
or putting it on a credit card and then like,
And then you're stuck in that cycle of debt.
exactly.
Yeah. So this helps you avoid that.
Okay, so peace of mind.
Yes.
I like it.
Reduce stress.
But wouldn't putting money into this quick solution fund delay other goals like paying off debt or investing for the future?
That's a great question. And it is a little bit of a balancing act.
Oh, yeah.
But I think it's helpful to think about it this way.
Okay.
Imagine that unexpected medical bill comes up and you don't have your solution fund in place. You're more likely to put that on a high-interest credit card.
Right.
And then you're stuck in that cycle of trying to pay that down.
And then those interest charges start adding up.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
So it's really about playing that long game and making sure that you have that safety net in place.
Okay, I like it. So it's about being strategic,
Yeah.
avoiding those debt traps.
Exactly. And speaking of debt, that leads us perfectly into step 3,
Ooh.
which is all about understanding and conquering this idea of overpaying on debt.
debt overpayment. Okay.
It's one of those things you kind of just like shove under the rug and try not to think about.
Yeah.
But Nisha poses this question,
Okay.
which I think is really interesting. She says, what's worse than buying something now and not paying for it later?
Ooh, I like where this is going.
Right.
It's-
And the answer is overpaying for it
Yes.
because of interest.
Those interest charges, man.
I know, it's like that saying, interest is your best friend when you're earning it, but your worst enemy when you're paying it.
100%.
So can you give me like a real world example of that? Like how does this actually play out?
Yeah, totally. So, like, imagine you buy a new TV, right?
Okay.
Let's say it's like $500,
Hmm.
and you put it on your credit card that has a 20% interest rate.
Okay.
If you're only making those minimum payments every month,
Right.
that TV could end up costing you hundreds of dollars more by the time you actually pay it off.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a big difference.
So, okay, if we're trying to avoid that, what's the strategy?
Like, are we talking about funneling every single extra dollar we have towards paying off debt?
Well, so Nisha's approach is all about being strategic.
Okay.
She says if the interest that you are paying on your debt is higher than any interest you're earning on your savings, it makes more financial sense to prioritize paying down that debt first.
Interesting, because it's almost like that debt is costing you more money
Exactly.
than you're making elsewhere. So it's like an investment, but in reverse.
Exactly. You're losing money by not paying down that debt.
That's a good way to think about it. And I know she also breaks down, like, the different methods for debt repayment,
She does.
like the snowball and the avalanche.
Yeah, do you want me to like refresh your memory on those?
Yeah, because I always get them confused.
Yeah, so the snowball method
Yeah.
is all about kind of getting those quick wins. Okay.
So you focus on paying off your smallest debt first,
Okay.
regardless of the interest rate.
Got it.
And then once that debt is paid off, you roll that payment amount
Mm-hmm.
into the next smallest debt, and so on and so forth.
So you're kind of like building that momentum as you go.
Exactly. It's like that snowball effect.
Okay. I can see how that would be really motivating.
Yeah, you get to kind of like check those debts off your list,
Okay.
feel good about the progress that you're making.
I love it. Okay. And then avalanche.
Okay, so avalanche is more about maximizing your financial efficiency.
Okay.
So with this method, you're targeting the debt with the highest interest rate first,
Okay.
regardless of how big or small that debt is.
Got it.
So the idea is that you're minimizing the total amount of interest that you're going to pay over the life of all of your debts. Okay, that makes sense. Mathematically, that
Yeah.
seems like the smarter approach.
Yeah. And it can be, but I think what Nisha emphasizes is that the best method
Mm-hmm.
is ultimately the one that works best for you, for your personality, your financial situation.
Because if you're not motivated, you're not going to stick with it. So
Exactly.
you got to kind of find that balance.
Find what works for you.
I like it. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so we are on to step 4 of her 8-step payday routine.
Okay. Let's hear it.
And this one might surprise some people.
Okay.
It involves thinking about retirement.
Retirement.
I know it seems kind of counterintuitive.
Yeah, when you're like trying to manage your day-to-day budget and then it's like retirement planning.
Right. Well, it feels very like far off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But why is this so important?
So Nisha is a huge advocate for maximizing employer-matched retirement contributions
Okay,
if your employer offers them,
got it.
because it's essentially free money.
Okay, yeah, explain that a little bit, because I feel like retirement is something that people put off thinking about for a long time.
Yeah, and I get it. It can feel very overwhelming.
Yeah.
It can feel like something that you don't need to worry about until you're much older.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth is that the earlier you can start, even if it's with small amounts,
Yeah.
the better off you'll be in the long run.
Okay.
Because of that power of compound growth.
So it's like you were saying earlier, it's not about having to put in huge amounts of money right away.
Exactly.
It's just about like starting and getting in the habit of doing that.
Yeah, consistency over intensity.
Yeah. Love it. Okay, so step 5 of Nisha's payday power-up routine kind of builds on that quick solution fund that we talked about.
Yes, it does tell me more.
So tell me how this ties in.
Okay, so this is where we talk about building a more robust emergency fund.
Okay.
So that's your bigger safety net for those bigger what-if scenarios in life.
So we're talking like job loss, medical emergency.
Yes, exactly.
Like the big stuff.
The things that can really derail your finances if you're not prepared.
Okay, so how much should we actually be aiming for in this emergency fund?
So Nisha recommends saving 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses.
Right.
And this is money that you would only touch in a true emergency.
Okay, so it's about having that peace of mind, knowing that no matter what happens,
Yes.
you've got some cushion.
You have a backup plan. And she also mentions that people who are in higher risk industries
Okay.
or have more variable income
Right.
might even want to consider extending that emergency fund to 6 to 9 months of living expenses.
So it's about assessing your own personal risk tolerance.
Exactly.
Okay, I like it. So we're building up this really solid financial foundation. But now I want to talk about the fun stuff.
Okay, let's do it.
Step 6,
Yes.
investing in yourself.
Ooh. I love this one.
Right.
This is so key.
This is where it gets really interesting because it's not just about like the numbers. It's about like your personal growth as well.
Yeah, and Nischa frames it as investing in your own ROI.
Okay. Your return on investment.
Yes.
Love it. So break that down for me. Like, how does that actually work?
So think about acquiring new skills, expanding your knowledge base, maybe getting some additional certifications in your field. These are all investments in your earning potential.
I love that.
Yeah.
So this could look like anything from like taking an online course
Totally.
to like attending a conference for your industry.
Exactly.
Like the possibilities are kind of endless.
It's really about finding what makes the most sense for your own career goals.
So good.
And investing in yourself.
Yeah, it's about like leveling up.
Yes.
Okay. 2 more steps to go on our 8-step payday power-up routine. What is up next?
Okay, so next we're going to dive into the world of tax-advantaged investing.
Ooh.
Don't worry.
Okay.
It's not as complicated as it sounds.
Okay, good. Because that's one of those phrases that I feel like people hear and they're like,
Yeah, it sounds very like finance jargony.
yeah,
Yeah.
right, it does.
Yeah. But Nischa does a great job of like breaking it down
Okay.
and making it feel really accessible.
Okay.
Because you don't have to be like rolling in dough
Yeah.
to start investing in these types of accounts.
Okay.
And even putting in small amounts consistently over time can make a big difference.
So it's that compound growth again?
It is. It all comes back to compound growth.
Okay, I like it.
And the benefit of these accounts is that they're designed to give your money that extra boost
Okay.
by sheltering your earnings from taxes.
You get to keep more of your money. I like the sound of that.
Right.
So what if someone is like, I don't know, intimidated by the stock market, by investing? Like, how do they even know where to begin?
Yeah, that's totally understandable. It can feel very overwhelming.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not like a financial expert. But, Nischa mentions platforms like Trading 212.
Okay.
It's like a really accessible way to start investing with small amounts.
Oh, cool. I like that. So you don't need to have like a ton of money to get started.
Exactly. You don't need to be like a Wall Street hotshot.
Love that it's very approachable. Okay, so last but not least, step 8 of her 8-step payday power-up routine.
Okay. Tell me about it.
All right, so this one's all about mastering the idea of opportunity cost.
Opportunity cost.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds kind of complicated.
It does sound a little bit intimidating.
It does, but it's really just about understanding the trade-offs that we make with our money every day.
Okay. I like that. So give me an example. Like, how does that play out in real life?
Okay, so let's say you get a bonus at work.
Okay.
You could use that money to pay down your student loan debt faster,
Okay.
which is a great choice. But it also means that you might have less money available to invest in the online business course
Oh, okay.
that you've been eyeing.
So it's about priorities.
Exactly, and recognizing that you can't always do everything at once.
Oh, that you only have so much money at the end of the day.
Exactly.
If you have to choose what's most important to you.
And that those choices might look different depending on your individual circumstances and your goals.
Okay, so it's not about like a right or wrong answer. It's about being intentional with those choices.
100%.
I like it.
Making your money work for you.
Yes, I love that.
Not the other way around.
So we have covered a lot of ground today, from confronting our like inner financial ostrich to like becoming masters of opportunity cost.
We did it.
What is the one thing you hope people take away from Nischa's 8-step payday routine?
I think for me, the biggest thing is that shift in perspective.
Okay.
It's not just about like crunching numbers and sticking to a strict budget.
Right.
It's really about cultivating a healthier,
Okay.
more empowered relationship with your finances.
So it's not about being perfect.
No, not at all.
It's about progress.
Yes. Just take it one step at a time.
Celebrate those little wins.
Exactly.
So good. Okay, well, this has been so insightful.
It has.
I really enjoyed this deep dive into Nischa Shah's 8 steps.
Me too.
And hopefully our listeners are feeling inspired to
Yes.
take control of their finances and create that sense of financial well-being that we all deserve.
Financial freedom. Here we come.
Exactly. All right. So that is it for this week's deep dive. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us on this financial journey.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you enjoyed it, and we will catch you in the next one.